Once there was this Japanese guy, a salaryman. He took the train an hour to work, and then he took the train an hour back home every day. So he was very, very busy. This is pretty common, only this guy lived alone. He didn't have a lot of free time. One night he noticed that something was wrong. It seemed that somebody was stealing his food. Not a lot, just a little bit. Enough to notice. Just enough to notice. As much as he tried, he couldn't remember giving the key to anybody. It could be the manager of his apartment building, but that didn't make any sense. Why would he be stealing just a little bit of food every day while he was away at work? This started to really bother him. He started to lose sleep, and this affected his performance at work. He would lie awake in bed every night, wondering who this was. Who was coming into his house while he was away at work and stealing just a little bit of food? How could a neighbor have gotten a key? He started to imagine that it was maybe some kind of personal grudge or something. Something was doing this just to mess with him. He wanted to call the cops, but he was worried the cops would get angry for being called over such a trivial thing. Once there was this woman, a Japanese woman. During the day, she would scream and scream and scream and scream. Her neighbors were going crazy. They would always call the cops, but by the time the cops got there, this lady would have stopped screaming. So there wasn't really anything the cops could do. This went on for several years. I watched a documentary the other night about night terrors. Those horrible dreams that people have. Like you wake up and there'll be some entity, some guy standing in the doorway of your room. Maybe a figure, maybe a demon standing in the doorway. You are absolutely frozen. You can't move. And you sense that this demon has the intention of torturing you. You sense that this demon enjoys torturing you. You're frozen, terrified. You can't move. They have several theories as to why these night terrors happen. But because this is a documentary, they wanted to make it as interesting as possible. One doctor of physics had a very, very strange theory. It's based on the dark energy, dark matter idea that 70% of the universe is made up of dark energy and dark matter that we can't measure directly. But the thing is, when we hear about this idea, dark energy and dark matter, we tend to think of it as being way out there where all the stars are. But in reality, it's everywhere. It's all around us. It's evenly distributed. That means that all around me is dark energy and dark matter. All around you is dark energy and dark matter. Wherever you go, 70% of the stuff around you is this dark energy, dark matter that we can't perceive directly, that we can't measure directly. And his theory is that within this dark energy, dark matter are parasitic entities. Just like there are plenty of parasites on Earth, it's kind of a natural thing. In fact, there's even a theory that way back in the early days of life, mammals evolved to have different systems like digestive systems and endocrine systems because way back in the day, all these different proto-systems were trying to out-parasite each other. But they ended up co-evolving together. This theory postulates that one of the origin stories of life is all these different parasites, that parasites were one of the earliest life forms. And so it kind of naturally makes sense that of the dark energy, dark matter that is all around us, there are these parasitic entities within that stuff that we can't perceive. Energetic parasites. And they come to us when we are sleeping because in the dreaming mind, when you are dreaming now, you are much easier to manipulate. And somehow these parasitic entities fixate on us as we fall asleep at night. When you're lying there in bed trying to fall asleep, as you shift from thinking thoughts to watching thoughts, you send out a kind of unique frequency, unique to you. And once one of these parasites fixates on your own brain frequency that you emit automatically as you shift from thinking thoughts down into watching thoughts, it kind of sends out a beacon that the parasites can receive and act upon. It tells the parasites that it's feeding time. Those parasites that are always around you, the dark energy, dark matter parasites. And as you're falling asleep, once they've fixated on you, as soon as you cross the threshold from thinking thoughts to watching thoughts, those parasites will appear. And these parasites will hold you in a state of frozen terror as they feed off your emotional energy. Finally, the police showed up when that lady was still screaming. Because they could hear her screaming, that gave them reason to enter into her apartment. And what they found was very, very disturbing. As soon as they saw her, as soon as they saw the look in her eyes, they knew something here was very, very wrong. They looked around, checked out her apartment, and what they found in the closet was extremely disturbing. In her closet, they found 4 fetuses in varying stages of decomposition. 4 different times this lady had gone out, got pregnant, came home, had the kid, and then tossed the kid into the closet. Maybe it cried for a little while and then stopped. This would be enough to drive anybody insane, trying to fall asleep every night, knowing what is in the closet, trying desperately to forget what's in the closet, but being unable to, always being forced to remember what's in the closet every time you try to fall asleep at night. Finally, he called the cops. He had enough. And he was pleasantly surprised because the police in Japan are extremely professional. They didn't get angry because he called the cops because he thought somebody was stealing his food during the day when he was at work. Then he realized that whoever was stealing his food would somehow find out the cops had been called, and that would make them stop. Just when he started to relax and thought that everything was going to be okay, the detective came out and said, "Sir, I need to speak to you in the hallway." But I thought everything was okay. I thought, "Sir, I need to speak to you in the hallway right now." They went out into the hallway. The detective looked at him and said, "Sir, there's a woman living in your closet." She'd followed him home one night when he was drunk. Salarymen in Japan are often forced to go out drinking just because their boss says everybody's going out drinking. You don't really have much of a choice. The lady saw him coming home drunk, and she followed him upstairs, and he'd forgotten to lock his door. So she waited outside until he fell asleep and started snoring, and then she let herself in his apartment. And then she snuck into his closet while he was sleeping. She'd been living in there for 3 months. Every night when he came home from work, he thought he was alone, but he wasn't. She was in there listening to everything he did the whole time. And she would listen to him fall asleep every night, probably aware because of his breathing when he shifted from being awake to being asleep. And then maybe she'd come out of the closet and maybe stand next to his bed and maybe watch him sleep. I would have a hard time being able to fall asleep after that, just laying there in bed, knowing what was in the closet, knowing that if you do fall asleep, some lady is going to come out of your closet and stand next to your bed and watch you sleep and maybe do something else. It's very, very hard to fall asleep when you know that there's something out there, something in your closet waiting for you to cross the threshold from awake to asleep. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and comment. To learn more, please visit mindpersuasion.com.